Welcome back to another episode with Behind the Scenes with the Execs. Today we are joined by Karin, who is a true inspirational leader. Karin, please introduce yourself to us.
Hi, I'm Karin from BNI Tshwane Region, and it's lovely talking to you today.
You've got one of the largest chapters in South Africa, around 104. What has been one of the most extraordinary events happening there in that big chapter?
The day that they actually qualified as an IMO chapter, because they had a goal, they achieved the goal, and it was a big celebration. And just extra visitors, spouses, friends and stuff. It was lovely celebrating with them.
Now, you had this vision in your mind that you want a 100 chapter. When did you realize, okay, this is actually happening? This is going to be the chapter that's going to be my 100 chapter.
Cut! But it's not a wrap. I'm Elkan from Meta Creative Lab, and we are the sponsors of BNI South Africa's podcast. Like you can see behind me, we've got a podcast set up for podcasts like BNI South Africa. So we want to encourage you, if you want to start a podcast like this one, get in touch with us, get in touch with our team. We're part of the BNI network. We would love to receive your messages on elkan@metagrp.co.za. Okay, back to the show.
My 100 chapter.
It actually was never my vision.
Oh, well.
It was the chapter's vision. Remember, Super Abundant came from Silver Linings, used to be an online chapter, and then after lockdown, all our chapters went back to in-person. And there was a group of the Silver Linings guys who came to me and said, no way, they're not going in-person, full in-person. They wanted to be a hybrid chapter. So I listened to them and I said, okay, but it will not be a typical hybrid online chapter like in lockdown where half the cameras is off and stuff like that. And they said to me, okay, well, take me on that one, and they will, by the way, build 100 size chapter. So it's always been their vision, not mine. And I think what really made the change for them and for the rest of the region actually is I hosted a mock 100 chapter meeting. Because remember at that stage, we didn't have chapters. The biggest chapters in South Africa has ever been, 55 members. So there was a lot of people who didn't believe that we can do a 100 size chapter meeting. So I invited members from across the region, and it was personal invites, and we literally filled 100 size chapter with 100 different classifications.
Oh, wow.
And we hosted a mock meeting, and I think there was about 10 visitors or so. And that really gave the message that it is possible. And from there, the chapter really drove it. They took ownership of it. It was never Karin pushing them. So knowing the leadership they've got in Super Abundant, it was for me never a maybe. It was a done deal. And especially with the last year's national conference that was in May, they had a deadline because they wanted to showcase at the conference. So that put some pressure onto them, but it was amazing to see them achieve that.
That's amazing. We know that you are very involved in your region, member level, regional level, visitor level. What helps you keep your regional team level intact to your high standards?
I truly believe that it is putting the right people on the team, having the right people on the bus, and having them all in roles that's the sweet spot. Because if you've got a whole group of leaders working in a role that is the sweet spot, I don't have to motivate. So then it becomes a self-driven, because leaders motivate themselves. Then it's just a case of pulling the strings and say, okay, this is changing, we're doing that. But it's really not a hard job. I think we've got the most incredible regional team, especially at this stage. And it's got a big team. We're just under 30. And they all just love what they're doing. So it's a pleasure for me to work with them.
Passion people.
Yeah.
You have different leadership styles depending on your chapters and your teams, and we've seen a couple of videos where your chapters actually set their goals in front of the whole regional events. What was one that really blew you away that you didn't expect from the chapter to have those goals in place?
We do every year around about June, we do a regional combined leadership workshop. No leadership training. All the chapters need to come and present their goal for the next year to the rest of the group, or the presidents represent that. And for me, the biggest thing was when Super Abundant went 100 members, the rest of the region got the message 100 is possible. And remember, they visit Super Abundant, so now they see the big difference in energy, in visitors, in networking opportunities at a big chapter, and they go back to their chapter of 25, 30 and say, this is not good enough. So what really surprised me last year, June, is we had 2 chapters who's never really gone a lot over 30, maybe 35. And both of their presidents stood up and said they will be 50 members by end of May this year. And I actually put my money on them that they're going to both be over 50 by the end of February.
Oh, wow.
So it changed the whole mindset in my region that bigger is better. But if I say bigger, I mean quality bigger, not just numbers bigger. So that raised the standard in my region on being bigger backed chapters. We're currently on 44 average for the region. And then everybody says, yeah, but it's just because of Super Abundant. If we take Super Abundant out of that, we're standing on 36 average for the region.
That's still a nice figure. We're all aiming for 30 plus chapters, so you've achieved that. In your history, your past of different businesses and doing different things, I know you came from Nelspruit originally. Has that had an impact on the way you run your region?
I think the fact that I, for a very long time in my own life, used to, if people ask me what do I do, I'll tell them what do you want me to do. And it's not a cheeky thing, it's just I'm extremely multi-skilled. And if I can't build a website, I'll go and do a course to build a website. Not that I'm either the expert on everything, but having that diverse background really helped me to relate better to members. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy in BNI is the diversity of our members and our businesses.
Yeah. You mentioned now that you'll go do a course to build up a skill. By doing that, what was the most interesting one you've actually done?
I wouldn't say it's the most interesting, but it's one that I enjoyed the most, is the DISC training, where I did the DISC analysis, helped teams really grow through that, even hosted women's spiritual camps and bring DISC from a biblical perspective. So I really enjoy that personal development side. I love it.
And obviously you use DISC with your leadership teams with changeovers and things coming in as well.
Yeah, we actually use the bank system for my leadership at this stage more than DISC, because bank focuses on the motivation, what causes that person to want to do something. It's not a personality style, it's what motivates them to do things. And that changes things around a little bit.
I think a lot of our viewers wants to know you've got your 100 chapter. So what's next for Karin?
I've arranged everything in the region for this year that I'm putting out of support. Brunel is running with support and she's got an amazing team there. And I'm going to focus on launch. So it's something that I love. I love the challenge and I love the fact that there's a deadline to it. So yes, I'm currently busy with 2 new core groups, Echelon and Superability. Superability will be another hybrid, which we will use the Superabundant model to cookie cutter Superability on, and also make use of some of the Superabundant members to come help build the Superability group.
For a strong foundation, obviously.
For a strong foundation, and also to get the same culture in, because they've got a recipe that's working.
And the mindset is completely different.
Totally.
Looking at launch, what do you think now that you've launched 100 chapter? What do you think will be one of the most non-negotiable items or things that you'll have in getting that core group ready to the second phase of our launch programs?
Commitment and being involved. If you don't bring a visitor for 2 weeks in a row, you're out. So we can't have people get on board who's just going to be there. And because we're building strong chapters, there's a waiting list. So I'm not going to tolerate members who just want a seat in some back seat or something. I want guys that's really going to be involved.
So with that, how do you identify for yourself if you can work with this member in a core group, or should you rather transfer them to Ronald to find a chapter suitable for them? What do you think is that definite line?
Very much attitude and self-drivenness. They've got to have a business that is stable. Okay, so in our region, in any case, we don't take startups. We just feel startup, yes, the startup need help, but they very seldom last a year in BNI.
That's true.
So we've got a program that we're going to roll out this year to go and handpick one startup and then really nurture that startup with specific mentoring sessions and stuff, and get that startup by the end of the year. They have to employ people if they in trades have more buckets on the roads and things like that. But the fact that I don't focus on startups overall helps. So we're looking for a solid business. We're looking for somebody who's already have employees and that they have to delegate things to, because that'll free them up to have more time to actually work on a new chapter. And then also they need to know people. They need to have influence in their network. Okay, so I'm looking for people who can sponsor up, not bring people who just because they're there. It's a guys, invite people they have respect for, not control over. So yeah.
Your region is quite vast with different kind of economic changes and things influencing your region. And I know Pretoria East is quite dense with businesses where other areas are not. How are you encouraging those not so well developed business areas to be inspired to actually build up and mentor up?
We actually have a lot of cross-chapter visits. So whenever there's a public holiday, my guys don't want to have a public holiday. So if the public holiday is on a Wednesday and the chapter meeting is on a Wednesday, they'll go and have a look at what chapters are on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and they go and visit. So there's a lot of cross-pollination in our region, which I truly believe is one of our strongest points. Our members know our region's members. So they can go and visit Superabundant, see what a bigger chapter is like, see what type of money is generated there. Not that I expect everybody to be a 100-size chapter. I frankly don't have a specific size for any of my chapters. They will decide that, but what I do expect is that their contact spheres are built in balance. Because if it's in balance, then everybody in the chapter has equal opportunity to actually make money.
I like what you just said of you don't have the expectation of the chapter size, and that kind of gives identity to the chapters to strive to their own goals. Have you seen a change in your leadership teams when you brought in that approach?
Can't really see a change. I just see there's a very healthy competitiveness amongst the chapters, that they realize the benefit of a bigger chapter. So I very seldom have to motivate them on going bigger. They see it. They visit a bigger chapter and they come back and say, we can do better. So it's all, again, self-driven, which I strongly believe in. It's no use me standing in front and having a stick and say, you have to. They don't have to do anything. They're there to grow their businesses. But if they see the benefit that if there's 30, 40, 50, 100 people in the room that they can build their network with and how they can benefit from it, then the penny drops. Then I don't have to motivate on that.
Earlier you shared with us that you're focusing on launch and Ronald is now running the support side. What is your goal now for the next 5 years now that you've split the two?
Launch.
Yeah.
We've got a very stable foundation with our current chapters, the way we're running leadership and everything. So the big one where Tshwane has for the last 5, 6, 7 years been lagging is launch. So if we can get launch on board and in place, that'll have a ripple effect into the region, because every time you launch a chapter, it's a motivation for the rest of the chapters to grow. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen the next 5 years.
I'm going to keep my eye on you.
Yes,
Definitely.
Definitely.
With launch, there's a lot of admin, there's a lot of so much involvedness and you're already being so involved in your region. What do you do for me time?
I'm extremely strict on my me time. Extremely. I went through severe burnout in 2015 and I was told to literally not work for 6 months, which was not an option at that stage because I was single and looking after my mom. But I had 2 or 3 people on my regional team at that stage who came to me and said, no worries, we'll handle it. And I think there's very few of my members from those years who actually realized I was missing in action for 6 months. And there I learned hard lessons that if you don't look after yourself, you cannot be a leader. You've got to fill yourself with things that feed you in order to keep on giving out. So I've got my yoga, I've got my art. I've committed to have a solo exhibition towards the end of the year. So I've got to get into my studio. And yeah, that's the places where I get filled, because then I can go out again and give and inspire. Yeah.
That is one true nice tip we can implement in our own lives as well. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you being here. And that was an interview with Karin. Thank you.